It was 11:47 p.m. when Sarah Mitchell's phone buzzed with a notification she'd been dreading: insufficient funds. Transaction declined. She stood in the fluorescent-lit aisle of the 24-hour pharmacy, her 6-month-old daughter Lily whimpering in the carrier strapped to her chest, staring at the can of baby formula in her trembling hands. $42.99. She had $17.36 in her account. The night shift cashier, a teenager who looked barely old enough to work, watched her with thinly veiled impatience as the line behind Sarah grew longer. A man in a business suit checked his watch loudly. A woman sighed. "I'm sorry," Sarah whispered, her voice cracking as she placed the formula back on the shelf. "I thought I had enough." She'd already watered down the last container more than she should have. Lily had been fussier than usual, hungrier, and Sarah knew, she knew, that one more diluted bottle might be too much. But what choice did she have? Her paycheck from the diner wouldn't come until Friday, 3 days away, and her ex-husband Derek hadn't sent child support in 4 months despite the court order. As Sarah walked quickly toward the exit, Lily's cries growing louder, her phone buzzed again. A text from her sister Jessica: "Sorry sis, I'm tapped out until next week. Have you tried calling Mom?" Sarah's eyes burned. She'd rather starve than call her mother, who'd told her that getting pregnant at 23 by that worthless man was her own stupid mistake to deal with. Standing in the parking lot under the harsh glow of streetlights, Sarah scrolled desperately through her contacts. There had to be someone. Anyone. Her best friend Mia was traveling for work. Her cousin Tom had 3 kids of his own. Her former coworker Beth had just been laid off. Then she saw it, Derek, in her contacts. Not her ex-husband Derek, that contact was listed under "Do Not Answer." This was Derek Chen, a guy she'd met at a networking event 2 years ago when she'd still had dreams of finishing her business degree. They'd exchanged numbers, talked about maybe collaborating on a project that never materialized, and she'd never deleted the contact. She didn't even know if the number still worked, but in her desperate, sleep-deprived, terrified state, Sarah's fingers moved before her brain could stop them. "Hey, I know this is weird and we haven't talked in forever, but I'm in a really bad spot. My baby needs formula and I'm $50 short. I promise I'll pay you back Friday when I get paid. I'm so sorry to ask. I just don't know what else to do." She hit send before she could second-guess herself, then immediately felt a wave of humiliation crash over her. What was she thinking? He probably wouldn't even remember her. And if he did, he'd think she was some kind of scammer or, her phone rang. An unknown number. Sarah's heart sank. Had she texted the wrong number entirely? Was this some spam call? She almost didn't answer, but something made her swipe to accept. "Hello? Is this Sarah?" A man's voice, deep and calm, with an edge of concern. "Sarah Mitchell? Yes? Who is this? You just texted asking for $50 for baby formula." Oh God. It wasn't Derek Chen. She'd texted a complete stranger. She'd sent a desperate plea for money to a wrong number at midnight like some kind of, "I'm so sorry," Sarah said quickly, her face burning despite the cold November air. "I must have had the wrong number, I didn't mean to bother you, please just delete the message and, which pharmacy are you at?" Sarah stopped. "What? Which pharmacy?" the man repeated. "You said your baby needs formula. Which location are you at right now?" I'm at the CVS on Riverside and 8th, but really, you don't have to, stay there. I'm coming." "Wait, no, I can't ask you to, you're not asking. I'm telling you. Stay there. I'll be there in 20 minutes. The line went dead. Sarah stood frozen in the parking lot, Lily's cries finally subsiding into exhausted whimpers. What had just happened? Who was this person? And why had she just agreed to wait in a dark parking lot at midnight for a complete stranger? What Sarah didn't know was that the man on the other end of that call was Dominic Steele, tech billionaire, venture capitalist, and CEO of Steele Industries, one of the fastest-growing companies in the country. And what neither of them knew was that this accidental text message would change both of their lives forever. Sarah paced the parking lot, second-guessing every decision that had led to this moment. She should leave. This was insane. She was standing in a dark parking lot waiting for a stranger who might be a serial killer for all she knew, just because he'd offered to help her buy baby formula. But Lily needed to eat. And Sarah had literally nowhere else to turn. 15 minutes passed. Then 20. Sarah was just pulling out her phone to call an Uber home when a sleek black Mercedes pulled into the parking lot, so out of place among the rusted sedans and beat-up trucks that Sarah actually stepped back. The driver's side door opened, and a man stepped out. He was tall, easily over 6 feet, with dark hair slightly mussed as if he'd been running his hands through it, sharp features, and eyes that even in the dim parking lot light seemed to assess everything in a single glance. He wore dark jeans and a cashmere sweater that probably cost more than Sarah's rent, and when he walked toward her, his movements had the kind of confident ease that only came from never having to worry about anything. "Sarah?" he asked, his voice the same one from the phone. She nodded, instinctively pulling Lily closer. "You actually came." "I said I would." He glanced down at Lily, and something in his expression softened. "She's beautiful." "What's her name?" "Lily." Sarah's voice was barely above a whisper. "Look, I really appreciate this, but I should explain. I thought I was texting someone else, an old acquaintance, and I must have had the wrong number in my phone, and I'm not some kind of scammer or, I know you're not," he interrupted gently. "Come on. Let's get what you need." He started walking toward the pharmacy entrance, and after a moment of hesitation, Sarah followed. Inside, under the harsh fluorescent lights, Sarah got a better look at him. He was younger than she'd initially thought, maybe early 30s, with the kind of face that belonged on magazine covers. But it was his eyes that caught her attention, dark, intense, and holding something that looked almost like recognition? But that was impossible. They'd never met. "Show me which formula," he said as they reached the baby aisle. Sarah pointed to the container she'd tried to buy earlier, her cheeks burning with embarrassment. "The Enfamil Gentlease. But honestly, the store brand is fine, it's cheaper and," he picked up the name brand without hesitation, then grabbed 2 more containers. "How long will 3 last?" "I can't let you buy 3, that's over $100. "How long?" he repeated, his tone brooking no argument. "About 2 weeks, but, then we'll get 6. A month's supply." He started loading containers into a shopping basket. "No, absolutely not, I just needed help with one. Does she need diapers?" Sarah closed her eyes. "I can't accept this. That's not what I asked." He was already moving toward the diaper aisle. "What size?" 3, Sarah whispered, feeling tears prick her eyes. "But please, this is too much, I texted asking for $50, not, you texted asking for help," he corrected, grabbing 2 large boxes of diapers. "And that's what I'm giving you. What else does she need? Wipes? Diaper cream?" 20 minutes later, they stood at the checkout counter with a cart full of baby supplies. The total came to $347.62. The same teenage cashier from earlier did a double take when she saw Sarah return with this well-dressed stranger pulling out a black American Express card without even glancing at the total. "Thank you," Sarah managed as they loaded bags into her beat-up Honda Civic. "I don't know how to thank you. I'll pay you back, I promise. I get paid on Friday and, don't." He shook his head. "I don't want you to pay me back. I have to. I can't just consider it a gift." He leaned against her car, studying her in the parking lot light. "Can I ask you something? The number you texted, whose was it supposed to be?" Sarah's cheeks flushed. "A guy named Derek Chen. We met at a networking event a couple years ago. I haven't talked to him since, but I was desperate and I thought. I don't know what I thought." "Derek Chen," the man repeated, something flickering across his face. "From Chen Digital Marketing?" "I think so. Why?" He pulled out his phone, scrolled for a moment, then turned the screen toward her. It showed a contact, Derek Chen, 555-0147. Sarah's number showed, 555-0174. "You transposed 2 numbers," he said. "His 74 became my 47. "Oh my God." Sarah put her hand over her mouth. "I'm so sorry. I basically cyber-harassed a random stranger in the middle of the night begging for money." "You didn't harass me. You asked for help." He held out his hand. "I'm Dominic, by the way. Dominic Steele." Sarah shook his hand, noting how warm it was despite the cold November night. "Sarah Mitchell. And this is Lily, who is thankfully asleep and not screaming for once. She's lucky to have a mother who fights for her." The simple statement made Sarah's composure crack. Tears spilled down her cheeks before she could stop them. "I don't feel like much of a mother. I can't even afford to feed her without begging strangers for money." Hey. Dominic's voice was gentle. You're working, you're fighting, you're doing everything you can. That makes you exactly the kind of mother she needs. Sarah wiped her eyes, embarrassed. You don't have to be nice to me. You already did more than enough. I'm not being nice. I'm being honest. He hesitated, then asked, have you eaten today? I had coffee. That's not food. It's fine, I'm fine, there's a diner 3 blocks from here that's open 24 hours, Dominic said. Let me buy you dinner. You just spent over $300 on formula and diapers. I can't let you buy me food too. You can and you will, because I'm hungry and I hate eating alone. It was clearly a lie. Men who looked like Dominic Steele never ate alone unless they chose to, but Sarah was too exhausted and hungry to argue. The Starlight Diner was exactly the kind of place Sarah had spent countless hours in during her pregnancy, cheap, warm, and open when nothing else was. The waitress, a woman named Dolores who Sarah recognized from previous late-night formula runs, raised her eyebrows when Sarah walked in with Dominic but said nothing as she led them to a corner booth. Order whatever you want, Dominic said, not even opening his menu. Sarah ordered the cheapest thing, a grilled cheese and soup, but Dominic shook his head and told Dolores, she'll have the club sandwich with fries, a side salad, and the chocolate pie. And bring her a milkshake too. Chocolate or vanilla? I really don't need chocolate or vanilla, he repeated. Chocolate, Sarah admitted quietly. As Dolores walked away, Sarah studied the man across from her. Why are you doing this? Doing what? This. All of this. You don't know me. I'm a complete stranger who sent you a desperate text by accident. Most people would have just blocked the number. Dominic was quiet for a long moment, his fingers tracing patterns on the worn formica table. Can I tell you something? Okay. When I was 8 years old, my mother and I lived in a shelter for 6 months. His voice was matter-of-fact, but Sarah could hear the emotion underneath. My father had left, she'd lost her job, and we had nothing. One night, she needed to buy me medicine. I had a terrible fever, but she was $3 short. She called everyone she knew, but no one picked up. We were sitting outside the pharmacy, both of us crying, when a stranger walked up and asked what was wrong. What happened? He bought the medicine. And groceries. And he gave my mother his business card and told her to call him if she ever needed help finding work. Dominic met Sarah's eyes. 2 weeks later, she was working as a receptionist at his company. 5 years after that, she was his office manager. She worked there for 20 years until she retired. That's incredible. That man's kindness changed our entire lives, Dominic said. He didn't have to help. He could have walked past us like everyone else did. But he chose to stop, to see us, to care. And I promised myself that if I ever had the chance to be that person for someone else, I would. Sarah felt her throat tighten. Is he still alive? The man who helped you? No. He passed away 3 years ago. But I think about him every day. Dominic smiled slightly. His name was William Hayes. He's the reason I started my company. I wanted to build something that would help people the way he helped us. What kind of company? Tech solutions for small businesses. We create affordable software and systems that help local shops compete with big corporations. He shrugged. It's not as exciting as it sounds. It sounds pretty exciting to me, Sarah said. I used to want to start my own business. Before what? Before I got pregnant. Before my ex left. Before reality kicked in. She laughed bitterly. Now I work double shifts at a diner and can barely make rent. What kind of business did you want to start? Sarah hesitated, then figured she had nothing to lose. A meal prep service for new moms. Healthy, affordable, ready-to-eat meals delivered weekly. I did all this research on postpartum nutrition and how most new mothers barely have time to eat, let alone cook nutritious food. I even had a business plan written up. That's brilliant, Dominic said, and he sounded like he meant it. It's a pipe dream. I don't have startup capital, I don't have time, and I barely have the energy to microwave leftovers, let alone start a business. What if you had help? Help from who? I don't exactly have a network of investors waiting to fund a single mom with $17 in her bank account. Dominic opened his mouth to respond, but Dolores arrived with their food. Sarah hadn't realized how hungry she was until the sandwich was in front of her, and she had to force herself not to devour it like a starving animal. When did you last have a real meal? Dominic asked quietly. I eat. That's not what I asked. Sarah put down her sandwich. 3 days ago. But Lily eats every day, that's what matters. Sarah, I'm fine. Really. This is just temporary. Once I get my tax refund in February, I'll have a cushion. And my ex is supposed to start paying child support eventually, the courts just move slowly. It's fine. It's not fine, Dominic said firmly. You're starving yourself to feed your daughter. That's not sustainable. What choice do I have? Sarah's voice rose slightly, drawing looks from the other diners. Her father won't help, my family won't help, I'm working as many hours as they'll give me at the diner, and I'm still drowning. So yes, sometimes I skip meals. Sometimes I water down formula more than I should. Sometimes I choose between paying the electric bill or buying diapers. That's just my life right now. It doesn't have to be. Easy for you to say. You clearly have money. You probably can't even imagine what it's like to. She stopped, remembering his story about the shelter. I'm sorry. That was rude. It's honest, Dominic corrected. And you're right, I have money now. More than I'll ever need. Which is exactly why I want to help you. You already did help. You bought formula and diapers and this meal. That's more than enough. What if I told you I want to do more? Sarah laughed, a slightly hysterical sound. Like what? Write me a check for $10,000? Offer me a job at your fancy tech company? Sweep in and fix all my problems? Would you let me? If I offered? The question hung in the air between them. Sarah stared at this stranger, this impossibly kind, impossibly handsome stranger who'd shown up at midnight to help her and was now offering, what? Charity? Pity? I don't take handouts, Sarah said finally. Good. I don't give them, Dominic replied. But I do invest in good ideas. And your meal prep service for new mothers? That's a good idea. A great idea, actually. The kind of idea that could help thousands of women in exactly your situation. Are you seriously talking about investing in a business I mentioned 30 seconds ago? I'm seriously talking about having a conversation about it. Tomorrow, when you're not exhausted and I'm not ambushing you at midnight in a diner. He pulled out his phone. Can I get your number? Your actual number, not the wrong number you accidentally texted? Sarah hesitated, then rattled off her digits. A moment later, her phone buzzed with a text, "This is Dominic. Now you have mine too. I'll call you tomorrow afternoon," he said. "We can meet somewhere to discuss the business plan you mentioned. No pressure, no obligations. Just a conversation." Why? Sarah asked desperately. Why are you doing all this for someone you don't even know? Dominic stood, pulling out his wallet to leave cash on the table for the meal. Because someone did it for me once. And because I think you're exactly the kind of person who deserves a second chance. He was almost to the door when Sarah called out, "Dominic?" He turned. "Thank you. For everything. Really." He smiled, and it transformed his entire face from intimidating to warm. "Get some sleep, Sarah. Tomorrow's a new day." After he left, Sarah sat in the booth for a long time, staring at the text message on her phone from a number that was supposed to belong to Derek Chen but instead belonged to someone who might just change her life. Dolores appeared with the check, already paid, and a knowing look. "Honey, I've worked here for 30 years, and I've never seen a man look at a woman the way that one looked at you. He was just being kind." Keep telling yourself that. Dolores winked. "But when you two get married, I expect an invitation to the wedding." Sarah laughed despite herself. "We just met. He's probably some rich guy who helps random people for tax write-offs." "Maybe," Dolores said. "Or maybe he's the miracle you've been praying for." Sarah didn't sleep that night. After getting Lily down, she did what any sane person would do, she Googled Dominic Steele. And nearly dropped her phone. Dominic Steele wasn't just wealthy. He was billionaire wealthy. The articles went on for pages. Tech visionary Dominic Steele takes steel industries public, 30 under 30, how Dominic Steele built a billion-dollar empire, steel industries partners with small businesses across America. There were photos of him at charity galas in tuxedos, at tech conferences giving keynote speeches, shaking hands with celebrities and politicians. In every photo, he looked polished, professional, untouchable, nothing like the man who'd shown up at midnight in casual clothes to buy baby formula. Sarah found an article from 5 years ago, Steele honors late mentor William Hayes with scholarship fund for low-income students. The piece detailed how Dominic had created a $50 million endowment in Hayes's name, providing full scholarships and business mentorship to students from underprivileged backgrounds. He really meant it, Sarah whispered to her sleeping daughter. The story about the stranger who helped his mom. It was all true. She kept reading. There was surprisingly little about his personal life, a brief mention of a relationship that ended 3 years ago, speculation about various women he'd been photographed with at events, but nothing substantial. He seemed intensely private despite his public profile. At 3 a.m., her phone buzzed with a text, "I know you're probably Googling me right now. Yes, it's all true. Yes, I really do want to talk about your business idea. And no, I'm not a serial killer or a creepy stalker. Get some sleep. We'll talk tomorrow." Sarah found herself smiling despite her exhaustion. She typed back, "How did you know I was Googling you?" The response came immediately, "Because it's what I would do. Also, my assistant just informed me that there's been unusual search activity on my name from this area code. We track that sort of thing for security reasons. Don't worry, it's actually refreshing to meet someone who does their research. Your assistant monitors Google searches at 3 a.m.? I pay her very well to monitor everything at all hours. Occupational hazard of being stupidly rich and mildly paranoid." Mildly? Okay, significantly paranoid. You try being worth billions and see how trusting you become. Sarah hesitated, then typed, "Why do I get the feeling you're not actually this casual with most people?" The response took longer this time, "Because I'm not. Good night, Sarah. Feed Lily, get some rest, and I'll see you tomorrow." Sarah plugged her phone in and finally crawled into bed, but sleep wouldn't come. Her mind raced with possibilities and fears in equal measure. What if this was real? What if Dominic Steele really wanted to help her launch her business? What if she actually had a shot at building the life she dreamed of before everything fell apart? And what if it all came crashing down again? Dominic suggested meeting at a small coffee shop in Sarah's neighborhood, not some fancy downtown restaurant, but a local place called Sunrise Brew that Sarah passed every day on her way to work. She appreciated that he'd chosen somewhere comfortable, somewhere she wouldn't feel out of place in her Target jeans and discount store sweater. She arrived 10 minutes early with Lily in her carrier, ordered a regular coffee, not the fancy latte she wanted but couldn't justify, and found a table in the back corner. She'd brought a worn folder containing her old business plan, printed out 2 years ago when she'd still believed anything was possible. Dominic arrived exactly on time, dressed more casually than the night before in jeans and a dark blue Henley, but still managing to look like he'd stepped out of a magazine. Several people in the coffee shop did double takes, clearly recognizing him. "Sorry about that," he said, sliding into the seat across from her. "I should have suggested somewhere more private." "It's fine," Sarah said, though she noticed the barista blatantly taking a photo with her phone. "Does that happen a lot?" "More than I'd like. Less than it used to." He smiled at Lily, who was wide awake and staring at him with her big blue eyes. "She's even more beautiful in daylight. Can I?" "Can you what?" "Hold her." At Sarah's surprised expression, he added, "I have 3 nieces. I'm not completely incompetent with babies." Sarah carefully transferred Lily to Dominic's arms, and something in her chest tightened at the sight of this powerful billionaire cradling her daughter with surprising gentleness, making silly faces that actually made Lily smile. "You're a natural," Sarah said softly. "Children and I have an understanding. They don't judge me for my money, and I don't judge them for their inability to control their bodily functions." He bounced Lily gently. "So, tell me about this business plan." Sarah pulled out her folder, suddenly self-conscious about the coffee-stained pages and handwritten notes in the margins. "It's probably not very professional compared to what you usually see. The best business plans I've ever read were scribbled on napkins," Dominic said. "Walk me through it." For the next hour, Sarah explained her vision, a meal prep service specifically designed for postpartum mothers, delivering pre-made, nutritionally balanced meals twice a week. Meals that could be eaten one-handed while nursing, that didn't require reheating, that actually tasted good and provided the calories and nutrients new mothers needed. "The problem," Sarah explained, gaining confidence as she talked, "is that every meal service out there is either crazy expensive, or it requires cooking, or the portions are too small for someone who's breastfeeding and burning 3,000 calories a day. I wanted to create something affordable, convenient, and actually designed for what new moms need. What's your target price point? $80 a week for 10 meals. That's $8 a meal, which is less than most people spend on takeout but more than they'd spend on groceries if they had time to shop and cook. And your research showed new mothers would pay that? I surveyed 200 new moms in various income brackets. 73% said they'd pay between $60 and $100 a week for healthy, ready-to-eat meals in those first few months postpartum. Dominic nodded, his expression thoughtful. Production costs? I estimated about $4 per meal at scale, which gives a 50% margin. The challenge is getting to scale. Initial production costs would be higher, and I'd need commercial kitchen space, staff, delivery logistics. Have you costed all that out? Sarah flipped to a spreadsheet in her folder. Initial startup costs would be around $150,000. That covers 3 months of operation, a commercial kitchen lease, licensing, insurance, initial ingredient costs, delivery van lease, and wages for 3 part-time employees. And your revenue projections? Conservative estimate, 50 subscribers in month 1, growing by 20% monthly. Break even by month 4, profitable by month 6. She met his eyes. But that's all theoretical. I don't have $150,000. I don't even have $1,500. Dominic studied the spreadsheet, and Sarah watched his face for any hint of what he was thinking. Finally, he looked up. You're underestimating your costs. Sarah's heart sank. I know it's not perfect, but you need more for marketing, he continued. At least $20,000 in the first quarter to build brand awareness. And you're underestimating kitchen costs. Commercial kitchen leases in this city run higher than you've projected. Plus you'll need a website, social media presence, probably a small office space. So you're saying I need more than $150,000. I'm saying you need $200,000 to do this right. He pulled out his phone and started typing. And I'm saying I'll give it to you. Sarah stared at him. What? $200,000. I'll wire it to a business account we'll set up tomorrow. In exchange, I want 20% equity in the company. You want to invest $200,000 in a business that doesn't even exist yet? I want to invest $200,000 in you, Dominic corrected. The business is just the vehicle. But you barely know me. I could take that money and disappear. I could fail completely. This could be the worst investment you've ever made. It could be, he agreed. But I don't think it will be. You're smart, you're motivated, you've clearly done your research, and most importantly, you're solving a real problem that you've experienced firsthand. That's the best kind of entrepreneur. Sarah felt tears pricking her eyes. Why are you doing this? I told you last night. No, I mean really. The truth. Because I need to understand what you're getting out of this before I can even consider accepting. Dominic was quiet for a long moment, absently bouncing Lily, who'd fallen asleep against his chest. When he finally spoke, his voice was softer than Sarah had heard it. 3 years ago, I was engaged. Her name was Victoria. She came from a wealthy family, went to the right schools, said all the right things. Everyone told me she was perfect for me. He paused. 2 weeks before the wedding, I found out she'd been cheating with my business partner. When I confronted her, she said I was too focused on work and emotionally unavailable. Maybe she was right. I don't know. I'm sorry. Don't be. Looking back, we were never right for each other. We were just convenient. Appropriate. What people expected. He met Sarah's eyes. Since then, I've dated a lot of women who wanted me for my money, or my connections, or the status of being seen with me. I've gotten very good at spotting the ones who see dollar signs instead of a person. And you don't think I see dollar signs? You texted what you thought was an old acquaintance asking for $50. Not $50,000. Not $500. $50. Just enough to buy formula for your daughter. He smiled slightly. Trust me, if you were a gold digger, you'd have aimed a lot higher. That's a pretty low bar for trustworthiness. Maybe. But there's something else. He looked down at Lily. You remind me of my mother. The way she fought for me when we had nothing, the way she never gave up even when everything seemed impossible. She would have done anything for me, skipped meals, worked 3 jobs, begged strangers for help if she had to. And she did, until someone gave her a chance. Your mentor, William Hayes. He didn't just give her a job. He saw her potential when she couldn't see it herself. He invested in her, believed in her, gave her opportunities to grow. Dominic carefully transferred the sleeping Lily back to Sarah's arms. I have more money than I could spend in 10 lifetimes. I can buy anything I want. But I can't buy the feeling of making a real difference in someone's life. I can't buy the satisfaction of watching someone I believe in succeed. So this is about making yourself feel good? No. This is about honoring the man who changed my life by changing someone else's. He pulled out a business card and slid it across the table. But I'm not going to pressure you. Take this. Think about it. Talk to a lawyer if you want, I'll pay for one. Review the terms I'm proposing. Make sure you're comfortable with everything before you decide. Sarah took the card with trembling fingers. And if I say no? Then I'll respect your decision and walk away. But Sarah? He waited until she met his eyes. Don't say no because you're afraid of accepting help. Don't say no because you think you don't deserve this. Say no only if you genuinely don't want to build this business. I do want to build it, Sarah whispered. More than anything. Then say yes. Sarah spent the next 3 days in a whirlwind of activity. She met with the lawyer Dominic had recommended, and paid for, who reviewed the proposed investment terms and confirmed they were more than fair, extremely favorable to Sarah, actually, with protections built in that most new entrepreneurs would never get. She visited 3 commercial kitchens, interviewed potential employees, and started working on recipes. She created a website mock-up at 2 a.m. while Lily slept. She called her sister Jessica and told her everything. This sounds too good to be true, Jessica said cautiously. Are you sure he doesn't have some ulterior motive? Like what? I don't know. What if he expects something in return? What if this is some rich guy thing where he thinks buying you a business means he owns you? He's not like that, Sarah said, though she'd had the same worry herself. How do you know? I don't, not for sure. But Jess, I've been Googling him obsessively for 3 days. Everything about him says he's legitimate. And the lawyer said the contract is the cleanest he's ever seen, no weird clauses, no strings attached, just a straightforward equity investment. I just don't want you to get hurt. I'm already hurt, Sarah said quietly. I'm drowning, Jess. Working 60-hour weeks and still not making enough to feed my daughter without asking strangers for money. If I don't take this chance, I'm going to be stuck in that place forever. And if it doesn't work? If the business fails? Then I'll be in the exact same place I am now, except I'll know I tried. I'll know I fought for something better instead of just accepting that this is all I deserve. There was a long pause. Then Jessica said, okay. Do it. Take the leap. On the 4th day, Sarah met Dominic at his lawyer's office to sign the paperwork. The office was on the 40th floor of a downtown skyscraper, all glass and chrome and expensive art, and Sarah felt completely out of place in her best interview outfit from Target with Lily in a carrier strapped to her chest. But Dominic greeted her warmly, introduced her to his team, all of whom treated her with surprising respect rather than the condescension she'd expected, and walked her through every single page of the contract. You don't have to sign today, he reminded her. You can take more time if you need it. I've taken enough time, Sarah said. I want to do this. She signed her name on the final page with a hand that only shook a little, and just like that, she became a business owner. After the lawyers left, Dominic pulled out a bottle of sparkling cider, non-alcoholic, he noted, since Sarah was still breastfeeding and he didn't drink during business hours. To new beginnings, he said, raising his glass. To second chances, Sarah countered. They clinked glasses, and Sarah felt something shift inside her. For the first time in months, maybe years, she felt like the future held possibility instead of just more struggle. So what happens now? She asked. Now you build your business, Dominic said. You hire your team, perfect your recipes, create your brand. I'll have my people help with the legal stuff, the logistics, the marketing strategy. But this is your company, Sarah. Your vision. I'm just here to provide resources and guidance if you want it. I definitely want it. I have no idea what I'm doing. Yes, you do. You just don't believe it yet. He smiled. But you will. Over the next 6 weeks, Sarah worked harder than she'd ever worked in her life. She leased a commercial kitchen space. She hired 2 other single mothers who needed flexible work schedules. She developed 15 different meal options, testing each recipe dozens of times until it was perfect. She built a website with help from Dominic's web design team. She created social media accounts and started building a following. And through it all, Dominic was there, not hovering or micromanaging, but available whenever she needed advice or support. He connected her with his network, introduced her to potential suppliers, helped her navigate the business licensing process. He celebrated her small victories, her first paying customer, her 10th subscriber, her first 5-star review, and helped her strategize through challenges. But he never crossed the line from mentor to something more, never made her feel like his investment came with expectations beyond professional success. If anything, he was carefully, almost frustratingly professional. Until the night everything changed. Sarah was in her kitchen doing meal prep at 10 p.m., Lily asleep in her playpen nearby, when her phone rang with a number she hadn't seen in 4 months. Derek. Her ex-husband. She almost didn't answer. But something made her swipe to accept. What do you want? Sarah. It's good to hear your voice. Derek sounded different, hesitant, almost nervous. How are you? How's Lily? We're fine. What do you want, Derek? I saw your business on Instagram. Mom's plate? That's really cool. I always knew you were smart. Sarah's jaw clenched. You have 30 seconds before I hang up. Wait, please. I'm calling because I want to be involved in Lily's life. I made a mistake walking away. I see that now. You made a lot of mistakes. Which one specifically are you referring to? All of them. I was scared, Sarah. When you got pregnant, I panicked. I wasn't ready to be a father. But I've been thinking a lot, and I want to try again. Be a real dad to Lily. Maybe we could even try again. Us? Sarah laughed, a harsh sound. Are you joking? I'm serious. I still care about you. I never stopped caring. And Lily deserves to have her father in her life, doesn't she? Lily deserved to have her father in her life 4 months ago when you abandoned us. She deserved to have her father when I was rationing formula because I couldn't afford to feed her. She deserved to have her father when I was begging strangers for help at midnight. Sarah's voice rose. Where were you then, Derek? I know I screwed up, you didn't screw up. You chose to walk away. You chose not to pay child support. You chose to ignore every text and call asking for help. And now that you see me succeeding, now that I'm building something, suddenly you want back in? I don't think so. Sarah, please, no. You made your choice. Now live with it. She hung up, her hands shaking. The phone rang again immediately. She declined the call. It rang again. And again. Finally, she texted, stop calling. If you want visitation with Lily, go through the courts. Don't contact me directly again. His response came immediately. I saw the articles about you and Dominic Steele. That's what this is really about, isn't it? You've moved on to someone richer. Does he know you're just using him for his money? Sarah stared at the message, fury and hurt warring inside her. But before she could respond, another text came through, this one from Dominic, are you okay? My Google alerts just pinged me that your ex is posting things about you on social media. Want me to have my legal team handle it? Sarah called him immediately. What is Derek posting? Nothing terrible, just implications. Suggesting you're using me for money, that your business is just a scheme to get close to wealthy investors. It's all vague enough to avoid defamation, but clear enough to be damaging. I'm so sorry. I'll make him take it down. Sarah, breathe. This isn't your fault. Dominic's voice was calm, steady. This is what my legal team is for. We'll handle it. But what if people believe him? What if this ruins the business before it even really starts? It won't. Trust me, I've dealt with far worse than a bitter ex-husband with a social media account. He paused. Are you home right now? Yes, why? I'm coming over. Dominic, you don't have to, I'm coming over. Lock your door until I get there. 20 minutes later, there was a knock. Sarah checked the peephole, then opened the door to find Dominic standing there with Thai takeout and a determined expression. You haven't eaten, have you? He asked, walking in without waiting for an invitation. I was doing meal prep for the business, which means you were making food for other people while skipping meals yourself. Again. He started unpacking containers of pad thai and spring rolls. Eat. Sarah sat at her tiny kitchen table, suddenly aware of how small and shabby her apartment must seem to someone like Dominic. The peeling linoleum, the second-hand furniture, the crack in the ceiling she'd been meaning to patch for months. But if he noticed or cared, he didn't show it. He just served her food and sat down across from her. Derek's posts have been removed, he said. My team sent him a cease and desist. If he posts anything else, we'll pursue legal action. I can't let you fight my battles for me. You're not letting me. I'm choosing to. He met her eyes. Sarah, you're my business partner now. When someone attacks you, they're attacking my investment. I have every right to protect that. Is that all this is? Protecting your investment? The question hung in the air. Dominic set down his fork carefully. No, he said quietly. That's not all this is. Sarah's heart hammered. Then what is it? I don't know yet. But I know that I think about you more than I should. I know that every time I see you, every time you text me about a small victory with the business, I feel something I haven't felt in a long time. Maybe ever. Dominic, I'm not saying this to pressure you, he continued. I know you're vulnerable right now. I know you're dealing with an ex who's trying to manipulate you, and a new business, and single motherhood. The last thing you need is me complicating things further. What if I want you to complicate things? He looked at her for a long moment. Do you? Or do you just want security? Because Sarah, I need you to be very clear about what this is. I'm not interested in being a rebound or a safety net. If we're going to be something, I need it to be real. Sarah stood up, walked around the table, and kissed him. It was impulsive and probably stupid and definitely complicated, but it felt right in a way nothing had felt right in years. Dominic froze for half a second, then pulled her closer, kissing her back with an intensity that made her knees weak. When they finally broke apart, both breathing hard, Sarah said, "Does that answer your question?" "It raises about 100 more," Dominic replied, but he was smiling. "Sarah, are you sure about this? Once we cross this line, we can't uncross it." "I'm sure. Are you?" "I've been sure since the night I showed up at that pharmacy." He cupped her face in his hands. "I'm falling for you. Hard. And it terrifies me because I swore I'd never let myself be this vulnerable again. But I can't seem to stop." "Then don't," Sarah whispered. "Don't stop." They kissed again, and this time when they broke apart, Lily started crying from her playpen. Sarah laughed, the mood broken but not ruined. "Reality check," she said. "I should go anyway." Dominic stood, smoothing his clothes. "You have work tomorrow, and I have an early meeting." "But Sarah?" He waited until she looked at him. "This is real for me. Whatever this becomes, it's real. For me too." After he left, Sarah stood in her small apartment holding her daughter and feeling like her life had just shifted on its axis again. But this time, it felt like it was shifting toward something good. Over the next 3 months, Mom's plate grew faster than Sarah had dreamed possible. What started with 50 subscribers ballooned to 300, then 500, then 1,000. The business broke even in month 3 and turned a profit in month 4. Local news picked up the story: single mom builds successful business with help from tech billionaire, and suddenly Sarah was doing interviews and photo shoots. Through it all, she and Dominic navigated the complicated dance of being business partners and romantic partners. They kept their relationship mostly private, not out of shame but out of a shared desire to let the business stand on its own merits. But anyone who saw them together could sense the connection, the way he looked at her, the way she lit up when he walked into a room. Derek tried to cause trouble a few more times, threatening to sue for custody, claiming Sarah was an unfit mother, posting more thinly veiled accusations online, but Dominic's legal team shut down every attempt. Eventually, Derek's lawyer informed him that unless he wanted to face serious legal consequences, he should back off permanently. Sarah's family, who'd been notably absent during her struggles, suddenly wanted to reconnect now that she was successful. Her mother called, full of excuses and congratulations that rang hollow. Sarah kept the conversation short and didn't return subsequent calls. "You don't owe them anything," Dominic said when she told him about it. "Real family shows up when you need them, not just when you've made it." Is that what you are? Sarah asked. Real family? I'd like to be. He pulled her close on her couch, a new one, finally, purchased with her first real paycheck from the business. If you'll have me. You know I have a lot of baggage, right? An ex who won't go away, a business that requires constant attention, a 6-month-old baby who doesn't sleep through the night. I know. And you still want this? Want us? Sarah, I spent 3 years dating women who had perfect lives and zero substance. I'll take your beautiful chaos over their empty perfection any day. He kissed her forehead. Besides, Lily's growing on me. As if on cue, Lily babbled from her playpen, and Dominic got up to pick her up, making her giggle with silly faces. Watching him with her daughter, Sarah felt her heart expand in a way she'd never experienced. This wasn't the desperate, insecure love she'd felt for Derek. This was solid, real, built on mutual respect and genuine partnership. I love you, she said suddenly. Dominic looked up from making Lily laugh. What? I love you. I know it's fast and maybe crazy, but I do. I love you. He handed Lily back to Sarah, then knelt down in front of her. Say it again. I love you, Dominic Steele. I love you too, Sarah Mitchell. He kissed her softly. I think I have since the night you accidentally texted me asking for $50 and reminded me that there are still genuine people in this world. Best wrong number ever, Sarah said. Best wrong number ever, he agreed.